It's been months since the fight that took Toru Rikishi's life, a 10 bell salute in honor of a goat. Joe thinking about that fight with that deliciously new and improved animation. But no, seriously, this animation is just so good, man. And that missed handshake. Danbei hasn't been taking Joe's disappearance well, drinking pure alcohol. It's been 6 months since he's left and they don't know if he's going to return, even though Danbei remains optimistic. As Joe wanders into a scene, 2 Yakuza organizations fighting over turf, but one of them has a mysterious man with sunglasses. It's Wolf Kanaguchi, the retired boxer after fighting Joe. He may be retired, but he can still fight, easily showing his opponents why he was a prominent boxer, as they are no match for Wolf, who was rethinking of the match, how one result changed the outcome of his entire career, and if he hadn't got hit by a lucky punch, he'd still be fighting. And in a way, that is kinda true. While the Goonies are back for round 2 with more muscle. Goromaki Gondo, street fighting vs boxing. Wolf using his superior skill to send Gondo back, but he's not weak. Gondo dodging with a massive kick and pause. Yeah, that's a fracture to the already fractured jaw of my boy. And it's safe to say that is deadly damage. Wolf hit with a bottle, right left, as Gondo's about to kill him, but then Joe appears stopping him. Joe getting the other Yakuzas to help Wolf and get him to the hospital. Gondo recognizes Joe not wanting a fight, but because Gondo talks shit about Wolf, Joe goes into a frenzy, beating that dog onto his knees for talking about Wolf in such a way. And Gondo ironically isn't that offended as he helps Joe escape the police. Gondo isn't a bad man, all things considered, talking about how he wants to see Joe back in the professional boxing ring. As one of my favorite scenes in Joe appears, this scene represents finding that passion you had once lost in your life. Joe's energy returning as he returns to his family for a return to the professional boxing ring. Despite the possible joy of Joe's returning and the happiness of the children, the doubt lingers, can Joe really enter the ring after the death of Rikishi? And Joe has one main idea on his mind, visiting the grave of his long-term rival and friend, the man who gave it his all in the ring, returning back to the gang, throwing punches at the boxing bag. He hasn't lost his edge. Skipping back to Yoko and her grandfather, their boxing gym are now desolate due to the loss of their star man, who is waiting in the sky, ironically. Yoko doesn't want the club to be sold, and everybody knows the media always has to get their mitts involved as they arrive to watch Joe's first spar since Rikishi's death. Versus Nishi, Joe eating a big right, instantly sending him onto his ass, getting up with his swings missing as he shit talks Nishi into locking in, who gives Joe a right across his jaw with a mean combo executing poor Joe. As he rises, finally getting into his rhythm, pounding the body and Nishi into submission. Is Joe back? We're gonna find out in his return match. Heading out, eating a few punches before finally turning on that switch with his low guard, going on the offense, missing an uppercut, delivering a body blow. Body. Only body as his opponent collapses to the ground, giving Joe a KO victory, which is incredible but odd at the same time. But for now, all that matters is Joe has officially won his return boxing match. It's a glorious day. While we're back with Yoko and her grandfather talking about Rikishi, but also the idea that Joe has overcame the pain of Rikishi's death, and Yoko wants to become the president of the boxing club. With another Joe fight, Joe's slick moves, jabs with his ferocious body blows, pummeling into yet another victory. Since Joe's comeback, he has won 5 fights, all by body blows. He only did that to Nishi too. He didn't punch in the face properly. Joe at the minimum may subconsciously not be punching people in the face out of fear. But despite that, in the next fight, Joe is throwing punches towards the head, knocking his opponent down with a body blow. And President Osaka is back being shockingly polite, while Yoko also introduces herself as the new boxing owner. And to the surprise of no one, President Osaka is actually evil and he wants to get rid of Joe from the boxing ring.
You should kill yourself now.
Including the fact Joe has retired 2 more boxing opponents, as Yoko appears aware of this strategy. Joe's latest opponent will be Tiger Ozaki, a man with a deadly hairline, negative connotation. Danbei aware that this fight is pure bullshit and a conspiracy against Joe. Tiger is still a champion and it's a spar, and what can you notice? Joe is punching the body. Shit, Yoko's got a boss ride.
Bazinga!
Apparently Nishi injured his right hand in a match, as Joe and Yoko coincidentally come across against each other, who perceives Joe as changing and not being the same man he once was. And we have a few guests, offering a totally friendly spar, and obviously Joe doesn't care that this has a hidden meaning. The spar is a simple match, body blows and down just like that, the same pattern over and over again, before Joe hits a fucking drop kick. As it turns out, Tiger and his hairline are watching. Looks like a pedo.
You're ugly, you're disgusting.
Joe calling him out, look at that face. Lunging at Tiger, but they both show off their sick boxing skills, but they can't afford to fight with a sign of respect, leaving in relative peace. But it should be obvious by now, that isn't Joe's style. Pissing them off into a brawl, taking on everyone like it's a Yakuza fight, getting battered as Danbei also shows his move, both men easily dealing with the bums, looking a little bit worse away as they rest. The Messenger from Hell, that is a saucy nickname. The president of the club up talking about Joe's weakness, and it's clear Nishi and Dampé know of that weakness, but Joe doesn't. But it's time for a real fight. Tiger vs Joe, Joe eating a mean one, having him go on a gentle stroll. These punches are not gentle, while Joe shit talks, jabs towards the face as they exchange in the center. While Nishi and Dampé think about the weakness, Joe's offense still steamrolling Tiger as he appears to feint a bomb of a right into a destroying body blow, sending Tiger down like a sack of bricks. But was that really a feint? Because the bell rings and it's becoming clear that wasn't a feint. Joe didn't even realize, but he can't throw punches towards people's temples. As the second round begins, Tiger showing why he's so respected as Joe's offense is slowly being dealt with. Unable to properly land a clean blow, he just can't give people the original Rikishi punches, the ones that ended up killing Rikishi. It's information that Joe didn't know, but now it's changed the complexity of the fight. You can beat a bum with body blows, but an elite boxer, no. As once again, Joe can't do it, eating a left, knocking him down. And despite getting up, it means nothing as Tiger is dominating this fight. Joe can't do anything. Rikishi is haunting the man from the grave, and Joe doesn't want to believe it, gearing up for that massive demon punch. But he can't. And it gets to the stage where Dampé can't take it anymore, and he just throws that towel into the sky.
No! No!
Joe's first loss since he returned into the boxing ring. As Yoko heads to Mexico, with Joe sat in the ring unable to comprehend why he can't. Tiger wasn't better than him, so why can't he fight him? Furious at Dampé's decision to throw in the towel because he would have won, but he wouldn't. Running out the taxi, and Joe can't accept the fact as he rethinks the doctor's words over and over again. Is Joe really broken? Before he returns with expensive alcohol apologizing to Dampé because families don't fight, he wants a rematch with Tiger, and he's confident he will throw a punch to the face. While Yoko lands in Mexico, Joe having his fun while the President Goonies arrive with their annoying sarcasm offering Joe another fight.
Move this man!
It's actually illegal, but brain damage is the cute cousin of trauma, as these guys are buttering up Joe and appealing to his willingness to fight. Joe's intended opponent is Ryu Harajima, as Dampé knocks our boy down for wanting to fight. And Joe tries to punch Dampé in the face, and he can't. He can make all the excuses he wants, but he literally can't do it. All the while, Rikishi's ghost asks Joe what the hell is going on. Yoko is in Venezuela with this mysterious blonde man referring to Joe as a boxer who needs some fire, and it's officially time. Will Joe break his case? Let's see. Round beginning with Joe weaving, giving punches to the face, easily destroying him with those punches, controlling the tempo of the first round. But once again, it's not power blows, as Tiger is in the corner giving the strategy. Round 2 beginning, Dampé in tears as Joe eats mean punches, going down for a knockdown, but the shadow appears, Joe eating before breaking his opponent's face with a power blow they theorized that he couldn't do. But Joe is shivering. Joe is scared. Vomiting onto the mat. It doesn't even matter if he lands the power blow. He's always going to be scared of the fact that he might kill someone again. And the slums are devastated, while Noriko doesn't want Joe boxing anymore. People fighting in the ring, risking themselves just to be taken down by someone younger in the end. All the while Rikishi's ghost talks to him. That was powerful. Joe's punch is literally shaking the room because all he has to do is vomit Rikishi's ghost out. I mean, sure, that makes sense. And he wants another fight. All the while, Yoko is arriving with a man called Carlos. How interesting. Joe's still thinking about Rikishi's ghost as he prepares for his next fight. Apparently, Carlos is a world-ranked boxer named Carlos Rivera. 34 wins and 0 losses, nicknamed the beltless champ because they think the champion is scared of fighting him.
He's number 1.
As he introduces himself to Joe because he knows he should be a world ranker. The fight beginning with the same start, Joe taking punches against the ropes as they leave, Joe getting knocked down, getting battered against the ropes, getting literally murdered as his strategy is not punching, it's genius. It's the bait of the cross counter. But is Joe a masturbator or a dick choker? We're gonna find out as the cross counter is thrown. The opponent sinking, but he vomits. Landing tempo blows, vomit again. And despite that depression, Carlos is set to have his first match in Japan, and Joe is told the news that no one wants to fight him anymore because he just vomits in the ring. It's not a pretty sight, and Dampé's words are harsh. But what good is a boxer who can't throw a punch to the face? Dampé won't close the club as long as Nishi is boxing, and Joe wants a match against Tiger as he proceeds to start brawling the entire boxing gym, and once again he vomits because he can't punch the face. All the while we see Gondo, 3 losses in a row, but Gondo watches for the fighting spirit. We also get news that Nishi has won his fight, and it's his last fight too, as his right hand is too broken to fight, while Dampé tells Joe that he's retired too. Dampé is going to close the gym, as Joe receives an invitation to watch Carlos vs Nango. Is our Venezuelan world ranker really that good? Is he world class or is he dick class? But apparently Carlos might not be that good, as Nango easily dominates this fight with right and left, battering him into the corner, but then Carlos and Robert smile. Round beginning. Bang.
I mean, if that happened to me, I'd kill myself.
A massive punch sending Nango into a coma. A lucky punch? That wasn't a lucky punch. That was a hook with an elbow bringing fire into Joe's eyes. Joe is the only man who knows Carlos was not lucky, he was smart. He's the man that Joe needs to set him ablaze. Meanwhile, Danpei is taking down the gym as both men are now supposed to be retired, leaving a note detailing his reason. He can't bear to let his boy who's became his son suffer anymore, just like any parent really. While Joe's tiny posse realizes the news, but inside the gym Joe is boxing with more energy than ever, because he won't let them close that gym, rebuilding the gym with his own hands as he sees that Carlos is having yet another fight. Running to the TV, it's round 9 and Carlos is once again a bum, being offensively dismantled. But did you see that? A cheap punch with an elbow and Harajima has forfeited. Man got knocked out because Carlos is a cheeky man who's going about 100 miles an hour on the road, and his next fight is against Tiger. So in a way we can see a bit of karma and vengeance for Joe. All the while Jose Mendoza, the world champion's match against Carlos, is being negotiated. Carlos training with a little guest watching from afar, and it's clear that Carlos was mocking everyone. Joe getting a clear review asking about the elbow move as Carlos nearly kills a poor man. Robert trying to get Joe forced out the gym as Joe does what he does best, rage bait, and ask about that elbow strike, a little cheat code. No one else knows about it but Joe does, and Joe doesn't care about snitching on Carlos, he just wants a job. A little spar for money as he keeps annoying Carlos even more because that's his specialty. And Yoko actually lets Joe have his spar, with specific terms, while Danpei is working on a construction site being told about Joe fighting. And it's time, Joe slipping out the way as the music hits.
Please, music!
Joe eating a combo and a barrage sending him down instantly, still losing before cross counter sends the majestic boxer onto the ground as Joe takes his headgear off. Music's off, it's a fight, but then Joe vomits. Robert preparing to end it, but look at that determination. Both men firing at each other without any mercy. Joe vomiting as they keep giving it their all against each other. Joe eating another barrage, sending him down onto the mat. This is a brawl, while Joe also realizes that these Carlos punches remind him of the great Toru Rikishi. Those are the same punches he once felt. Joe firing multiple punches, eating that favored elbow strike, because this isn't even a spar, it's passion. Even Yoko preventing the end of the fight, Joe and Carlos firing their fists at each other, temple punches over and over again, and finally the fight is stopped, but despite it all, Joe appears fixed. The broken fighter revived, and once again it's beautiful. Joe is officially back this time.
That's what I'm talking about.
And elsewhere at night, Robert appears to have good news, and he tells Carlos the facts. Jose Mendoza will officially be fighting Carlos for the world title, who is going to have his final fight against Tiger, with Carlos embracing his serious side, noticing Joe is in the crowd as he leaps into the ring, confidently declaring he will knock out Tiger in round 1. A message to Joe, but also the exact same pose and statement Toru Rikishi did while they were in the prison. The bell ringing, Carlos slips out the way, and oh my god. Carlos executes Tiger with a cheeky elbow for good measure, sending the man into orbit as he promptly lands on the ground with his balls probably in his throat because he just got fucked up. Carlos made his declaration and the match ended exactly how he promised, because Carlos Rivera is the beltless champ. As he gets his interview where it's revealed his strategy was him pretending to be a bum, because people wouldn't want to fight a monster like him naturally. It's smart, while they also declare Carlos's match against Jose is set, but he wants one more match, Joe Yabuki, and that has Robert going insane because that is dangerous. And listen to this.
No!
As he has also escaped from his hotel room and now is missing, Robert and Carlos grew up together in the slums, knowing what it was like to struggle, and he wants his boy to succeed no matter what. While Joe decides he should buy Christmas presents, assassinating Danpei with sweets while Santa Claus has visited the children.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
Thank you!
Lord Christmas, I give you my heart.
I never stopped believing he was real. And as to be expected of poor children, Carlos never had a Christmas, he never got any presents. While Joe and Carlos actually meet face to face having a private conversation, while Carlos asks Joe about tomorrow, the fact that tomorrow might never come, which is why he wants to knock Joe out, as the pair end up in a park, while Joe suggests the idea of them fighting here and now, but it's snowing. And that has Carlos embracing his inner child as Carlos trips Joe up and then making him a bull, making the great escape onto the slide, blocking and weaving with extra grace before poking Joe down the slide, because this isn't a fight, it's joy. While Robert and Yoko are busy looking for the pair, while Dampé notes that both men are similar. Maybe not in skill, but the same mentality. While Robert notes that Carlos may have incidentally awoken his other side in the ring, and Robert doesn't want Carlos to change, which is why he doesn't want this fight, and ironically neither does Dampé. Joe is a boxer that Carlos has dreamt of fighting, as the pair are finally found, and despite all the obstacles and the issues, they will fight, as Yoko offers to pay the fine for the World Championship fight delay. And after all the fun and jokes, it's time. Both men instantly locking in, starting with quick jabs, no time for second gear, as these men are firing on all cylinders. Joe landing a massive left, pressing Carlos into the corner before bang. A massive uppercut and body blow has Joe having a mental shutdown. Strolling across the ring with a smirk, slipping out the way as these two fire until the bell rings. The first round and it's already firework, but it also turns out that Carlos is holding back. Second round beginning, Joe lunging forward as Carlos combos him onto the ropes, beating Joe down onto the mat, an increase in power and Joe was seeing stars.
Humiliation.
And naturally he gets up, boom. The cross counter sends Carlos down. And despite the fact Carlos appears confident, because he knows about the cross counter, he took it intentionally and blunted the force. It's the third round with an ambience in the sky. Both men exchanging, Carlos delivering an uppercut, cross counter. No. Carlos delivering a massive uppercut, sending Joe down in quite brutal fashion. Getting up because that's who Joe is. Carlos instantly on the prowl, being taunted as he takes a bait, going for his cross counter, but then Joe adapts, blowing that body out with the assistance of the ropes. Naturally, Carlos gets up with beauty because that's who he is, as both men fire, as Carlos tells Joe the next time he does that move, he's getting his balls taken. Carlos ignoring his coach's recommendation for the fourth round. Both men giving their strongest punches with insane speed, as Joe finds himself against those ropes, and you know the drill. Counter, counter, but no counter as Carlos stops Joe. A massive right uppercut having Joe outside the ring, with his brain probably rattling as he somehow gets up, taking an onslaught from Carlos because he's a wounded animal. Lefts pulverizing Joe onto the ropes as he's saved by the bell. Now it's round 5. Joe heading out early, taunting Carlos as both men collide in the center. It's currently 10 minutes to midnight and Joe's being overpowered with a big body blow, sending him down, staying down for the maximum healing. But Joe is eating those punches, sending him down again. Joe landing a right-left body blow, misses and weaving, living on the fighting spirit as he leans against the ropes. Did you say counter, 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 counter? Carlos doing the arm strat, but Joe ducks underneath and... It's safe to say Carlos may have just died.
Stand up, Carlos! Stand up! Stand up! Please!
And he does with a mysterious look, eating punches without his guard as the bell saves him, but Robert checks on him and what in the actual fuck?
Made in heaven.
Round 6 beginning with another ambience in the air, as Joe sees Carlos and oh my lord, Joe hit by Stardust, sending him down for a knockdown. And if you're confused like everyone else, Carlos is hitting Joe at what can only be described at the speed of light. And it's handling Joe, as despite Joe's boxing, he's smited down in the ring without remorse. Carlos truly is made in heaven, right? It's also officially New Year's, round 7. Those punches Carlos is using is the super weapon against Jose Mendoza, but Carlos wants to use it against Joe. Joe's still getting hit with the punches of light going down. At this point, Joe has been dead 10 times. Carlos is clenching all his muscles at once, which is utter insanity. Entirely possible. I do this to homeless men. As Joe sees through the beams of light, but Carlos says, "Fuck no, baby!" Left, right, upper, body blow. You're brawling against each other and a cross counter ringing out as both men sink to the ground for a double knockdown, and somehow they both rise to their feet as the bell rings. Joe waking up as both men start firing, duking it out in the center, because it's not a fight anymore, it's for the love of the game, with fluidity and beauty taking us all the way to the finale. The 12th round as both men head out to face the music. It's an inspiring sight with everyone in awe, firing their bombs against each other as the bell rings, signaling the end to it all. The winner doesn't matter, but this fight is declared a draw.
Carlos.
Besides that, Carlos is officially leaving for his fight against the world champion, slipping off the plane, and despite the jokes, that is creepy. While Joe is drinking alone, quite relatable. It's New Year's now, while Dampé makes jokes about punch drunk syndrome. Everyone having their own individual parties, while Joe kinda makes a fat joke to Nishi, which may have hurt his feelings, a lot more than Joe intended, as him and Dampé prepare a retirement party. 10 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws. All in all, not a terrible career for Nishi, with flowers from Yoko. It's an emotional retirement, and Nishi wants one last bar with Joe. After all, it's the only language they know. Teapot ringing, Joe brutally knocking Nishi down, but he's fine, as Joe himself gets knocked down as they fight into the night. A few days later, Joe visits Yoko under the guise of getting money. Carlos's fight is set to begin shortly as Joe receives his check, which is 6 times the usual payment, as both of them argue, and the fight's over. Carlos was knocked out in the first round. And Robert says Carlos was broken by Joe. Carlos took too much damage, making him punch drunk, and Jose is respectful, asking for a rematch because he knows that Carlos is an amazing fighter. But Carlos is crippled.
Goodbye, my Carlos Lee.
Wolf retired after Joe, Rikishi died, and now Carlos. It's just sad, and now Joe is called the Grim Reaper. Joe sees it who could be his future rival as he heads out with Noriko, who's scared about what might happen to Joe, but Joe doesn't care, because for him, boxing is an art, something that you can't quit, and he has to fight for the men who have lost their careers because of him. Danpei is struggling to find fighters for Joe because people don't want to fight a guy who can kill them. Yoko wants Joe to fight against Jose one day, and she'll do her best to find Joe an opponent, as I have a fucking seizure. While Noriko and Joe once again talk about boxing, the consequences, but then we get the best speech in sports anime. Joe talking about the fire burning inside him, waiting to combust.
真っ白な灰だけだ。
It's now been 2 months since Joe fought Carlos, Danpei calling in favors from Yoko to organize a match. Joe's opponent is Usman Somkit, the OBF 5th ranked boxer, and naturally Joe finds out Yoko organized it, but he doesn't insult her as it's fine. Usman is sparring against 2 different people at once with clear efficiency, dealing with them both. Apparently his toughness is next level, being 18-0 since switching from Muay Thai. Well, let's be honest, he's no Carlos, is he?
We don't care.
Joe reading the newspaper and seeing a defeated imagery of Carlos as we find out more details. Carlos has amnesia, as you'd expect, unable to even remember the fact he was the legendary boxer who once rivaled the greatest world champion ever, wanting to visit him. But as it turns out from Yoko, Carlos isn't even in Los Angeles hospital. He's missing. They don't even know where he could be. Maybe he's back in Venezuela. But it's time for Joe's fight, and it's all business. Joe battering his opponent remorselessly, hitting him so hard the man is floating, and bang, launching the guy outside the ring in a matter of seconds, dedicating his victory to Carlos. We return as him as the 5th ranked OBF boxer, and Joe weighs himself going on a run. This guy appears. Apparently Joe's current record is 16 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw, at least in the anime. He's Kiyoshi Sugar, a blackmailing extortionist journalist hybrid who came into knowledge about Carlos vs Jose's tape, and Joe has to watch this to see what the hell happened, while his opponent is from the Philippines. All the while, Sugar is talking about people buying the rights to broadcast Joe Ibuki's fights under Yoko's nose, and sadly for him, blackmail doesn't work. But we get to see the tape. Carlos looking normal with his intro, as I have a stroke, because old animes love jump cuts. Carlos throwing his punches as Jose dodges easily, already sweating, as recall, he is punch drunk, eating a combo, getting murdered against the ropes, clearly out of it, and bang, a punch to the right side of the temple, and Carlos is down permanently. Carlos was gone before the fight even began. Anyway, Joe gets his opponent's name, and he doesn't give a shit. If Joe wins, he can fight the champion, but he doesn't want to fight him. He wants to fight Jose Mendoza, filled with that determination, if you get me. While Sugar Man is here with the other journalists, getting ready for Joe's fight. Tawny R. Onzo.
Nope.
Fight beginning. Joe eating 2 punches before a big combo sends him down, as he's distracted. Right, left, right, not giving the man time to breathe as he beats his opponent with the most brutal combo I've seen.
You got knocked the fuck out, man!
That man needs Jesus, not a doctor. While Joe weighs himself in the middle of the night, still gaining weight, much to his disturbance, which is something Danpei and Nishi have noticed. Joe is lying about eating food, which is really strange. And Joe's in a sauna, reminds me of someone else. But tonight is a little celebration about Joe's growth, especially with certain networks. The main man hosting it is basically dick riding, praising Joe's success, while revealing they now own the licensing for Joe's fights. And despite Yoko and Joe's odd relationship, they find company away from the road and oh my god, that's world champion Jose Mendoza. What the hell is the world champion doing at this party? He wasn't invited, he's just here to Oriform, as both men have a stare down, and...
Good luck.
Wait, say that again?
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Joe realizing Jose's mere presence is literally intense. Despite the fact he wanted to break his face for Carlos's demise, he knew they had to fight in the ring. And Joe takes his shirt off back in the gym and Jose has left bruises on his arms. In response, Yoko activates Metal Gear and pays Sugar 300,000 yen to track him down to assassinate him, as he's the man who sold the world. But in a more accurate terminology, Jose is just relaxing with his family, as Yoko asks this, and Jose responds with this.
Joe Yabuki, where he came from and where he's going to go.
That's it?
And Joe is training as you'd expect, while he's also told the words.
Joe Yabuki, where he came from and where he's going to go.
Well, that's what they said yesterday.
Jose's words essentially means Joe doesn't come from anything, and where is he going to go? To the world stage? The OPBF champion is Youngbi Kim, who's busy literally murdering someone, and oh my god, Kim is a horror character in nearly all aspects. He is a machine. He doesn't smile, he barely blinks. He puts his opponent in factory reset with simple punches. Kim easily dealing with his sparring partner's offense without fire in his eye. He literally is a machine, and Danpei is hiding Kim from Joe as he fears the consequences, despite him sending requests for the fight. 2 of Kim's opponents have died. He has a similar pattern has to Joe, but he's a far darker and more malicious individual. As Kim and his coach just appear, asking about Danpei's lies, Kim hitting Danpei with a few punches, knocking him down. And Joe can't have that as he ends up breaking Kim's coach, with Joe extra determined for his weight loss, getting stalked by random guys. The main issue for this fight is Joe was heartbroken when Rikishi, Wolf, and Carlos got crippled. Kim has killed 2 people and he isn't bothered. That's creepy. Kim was an orphan who lived through the Korean War. He became a pro at 33 and he's currently 36, and he has a stronger hairline than Jose. I mean, he's a machine with a technique called Chom Chom, which despite sounding funny has killed 2 people, while Colonel Cockrider is explaining Joe's entire life story in about 10 seconds. Speaking of 10 seconds, we're at Kim's next match, making a complete mockery out of a man 2 weight classes above him. His punches landing cleanly, beating the man into a corner, a man who analyzes the space of the ring and details all the information. Landing with an uppercut straight, a machine analyzing and striking, and it's safe to say Kenmochi is dead. But you know what's creepy? Washing your hands. No, that's normal. You know what isn't normal? Washing your hands for an hour straight without doing anything. As President Osaka taps him, immediately grabbed in that Leon Kennedy chokehold. Hyun, this guy, his coach obviously, explaining the reasoning. Kim is wiping blood off his hands, blood that only he can see, while Joe is weighing at 60 kg, meaning he has to drop an insane amount of weight within 3 weeks. Water, running and heating clothing, not eating real meals. While the children show Danpei what Joe is doing. A homemade sauna. I wonder who did that first. Joe is so weak he can't even move as Nishi breaks down that door. That's our goat. Danpei telling Joe he has to go up featherweight, maybe even lightweight, but Joe doesn't listen, trapping himself in his room as they get a replacement ladder, providing a meal. It's Joe's Rikishi arc. Running out in the middle of the night, he's grew by 6 centimeters, so he should go up in weight, as he sees an orange. Oh, he's hallucinating. It's a peel. It's also a tangerine, but fuck you. Refusing Danpei's food and water, as this is the weight class of Wolf, Rikishi, Carlos, and Jose. If he has to risk himself, he will. And apparently Joe is in Yoko's gym in the basement. Doesn't that sound familiar again? Danpei seeing Joe sitting in the locker room trying to get in, and he'll break that door down. And Joe will not listen to him, even as he opens the door, trying to fight Danpei, getting knocked down. It's time for a lesson. Danpei hitting a right-left before Joe deals with a half-blind disabled man.
Oh, my leg!
Danpei realizing this is the day when Joe might have his Rikishi segment. And it's time.
Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
As he covers up the grate so no one can see him, and he forces Danpei to throw in the towel, telling Joe he'll make sure he drops that weight and wins the title. And Joe isn't looking good, doing the most intense weight loss program ever. Danpei in tears, as Danpei is doing a drug deal. No, he's making replica gym scales to protect Joe from dropping weight. It's cruel, but you have to be cruel to be kind. Obtaining the items from Nishi, 1 kilogram heavier than the regular 5 kg, lying to Joe as the pair train before he passes out. Apparently Joe has currently dropped 700 grams as Danpei uses the fake weight. Now Joe has dropped 2.5 kg. And a few days later, it's our weigh-in and our scales. He's exactly 118 pounds, and we know what's up. Him and Kim are weighed. Naturally, Kim makes weight at 117.5. Joe gets weighed, and he's 900 grams above the weight. And Joe can't believe it. It makes no sense, as he sees Danpei, and he realizes what he's done. And Joe snaps, firing a right as he's in a frenzy, knocking Danpei down as Nishi reins the beast in. As Danpei stumbles with blood on his face, and Kim looks horrified.
Get away from me!
Screaming into a panic attack like a frenzy again, before slowly calming down, and everyone is confused as hell. While Joe locks in, saying he's gonna drop 900 grams before 2 PM, and he's using every little trick in the book. But there's one last idea: drain blood from his body. Oh my god, and with tears in his eyes, Danpei agrees against all the odds. Joe manages to make weight looking like a corpse, but after all his suffering, he's finally permitted to eat. While he gets that meal, savoring each bite. This is before Kim randomly appears and decides to trauma dump his entire backstory on our arseholes about true hunger. Now guys, Kim's backstory is pretty normal for a boxing anime. Born in a Korean War as a starving child, he watched his mother die in front of him, he ran amidst corpses with scorched earth, and one day he found food alongside a dead soldier, which he took, but the man awoke, and in pure fear he smashed a rock on his head, killing him and devouring the meal. As the soldier's squad mates arrive, now this soldier is a deserter called Chung Ryung Kim. Yeah, his father. Vomiting instantly as the soldiers realize that he's the murderer, and then he reveals that was his father. A child who murdered his father without realizing out of fear, and Colonel Hyun looked after him.
Pretty hardcore origin story.
But it's fight time. Kim and his coach are confident that this match has already been decided. Even Mr. Unemotional is smiling. That's how you know. Joe in his fire attire, realizing the suffering Kim has endured. Kim isn't like Carlos or Rikishi. Doesn't have the desire. He just exists. Both men making their entrances as our fight begins. Joe instantly falling. Not good when you're fighting the devil. Throwing massive swings that miss. miss, Kim using his composed nature to land a quick 1-2, as Joe keeps missing and falling as he eats a punch, a body blow, and then a left. Simply diabolical, a monstrous body blow with a 3-piece no soda. But Joe says your father died like a little bitch, landing his own punch, a quick 1-2 sending him onto the ropes, Kim dodging and walloping Joe with a barrage, sending him down. Joe getting up ready to kill the man, but the first round's over, noticing the creepy horror boxer analysing everything. Round 2 begins as Joe levitates briefly. Kim starting off with a right, Joe missing his response. Kim hitting a mean combo, looked like Mr. Untouchable with a cross counter landing. But Joe's the one who goes down, looking nearly dead, but he can't lose. By restarting as Joe is a rookie, missing and eating those punches as his body is imploded, as brother proceeds to grab his arm and start punching him when he's trapped. That was straight hammer fist to the cranium without remorse, and Joe is pissed as Joe throws blocked, comboed into oblivion. Weaving down and finally landing a left with a right, grabbing at Kim to stop him escaping, swinging in literal slow motion, but then cover your eyes. Right, left, uppercut, body blow, connection. Making Joe question his exact location, because that was a combo, but he doesn't stay down naturally, getting up, eating those jabs as Kim can't be touched. Joe's landed punches mean nothing, an uppercut to the jaw with our round ending. Safe to say our boy isn't winning the belt right now, he's in the wrong corner, being revived on the suit as both men are ironically unbothered, whereas Kim talks about Chom Chom. Our third round sees Joe eating even more punches, pinballed against the rope straight JoJo style. A massive left, and this time he looks dead, but the dead rise, Joe getting up like a zombie, because you can't calculate his insanity. Listen to this OST. Kim instantly slamming a body blow, giving a smiting right with a left uppercut, but Joe refuses to go down, using fraud jumps like Aoki. Going on the attack, landing, but the machine is blocking with maximum efficiency, hitting 2 lefts and a right before brutally launching Joe into the air with an uppercut. Joe getting up even though he doesn't understand why, finally landing, stunning Kim with his charge, using every trick in the book, falling over as the round ends. Another round starting, Kim landing a brutal barrage to Joe's poor face, launching him against the ropes with the fastest left rights ever. Joe clinching and slipping as Kim is overpowering him, still refusing to let go, being dominated with uppercuts. He eats a right before going on a brief walk, pulling himself against the rope, charging right back, missing as Kim lands another brutal combo. I mean, this is a straight horror sequence, imagining himself in Kim's shoes as he gets back up, Joe slipping again before Kim throws a thunderous right, discombobulating Joe. I mean, what happened? And machines experience fear, unable to understand what the hell Kim is fighting against. Chom Chom means dance. It's likely a combo that makes someone dance. Round beginning, Joe landing before eating, responding as Kim fires in response. It's Chom Chom time. As Kim lunges forward with a relentless slaughter, Joe's arms trapped, leaving him open as an uppercut launches him back into the air with a barrage of right and lefts, unable to fall down, a technique that beats you and you can't stop dancing. This is literally JoJo, and Joe's down on the ropes. It has to be over, but oh my god, Joe somehow rises to his feet, and this time, Kim is genuinely scared. The ice machine is panicking, as Yoko begs the towel to be thrown, but Joe won't let that happen, pouring water on it as the bell rings. Joe eating those punches because he's alive. For Rikishi, it's his memory that forced him to rise through the pain, as Kim is about to pass away because of fear. Rikishi was starving too, like Kim. He suffered, but he didn't brag about it. He didn't take the moral high ground of suffering. My goat's name chanted as Joe pulverizes Kim, showing who he is, sending him down, as Joe is the miracle kid. Both men finally brawling, not giving an inch, and then Joe bleeds like Kim's father.
Oh, you can!
Joe is officially the new champion, dedicating his belt to Rikishi.
Don't forget, I'm with you in the dark.
Joe's the champion, and even the world champion Jose is really interested in him, doing his road work in a literal desert because that's what normal men do. Meanwhile, Joe is enjoying his leisure time. After all, he's the champion, going on a car ride. Hopefully they don't run someone over. It's a beach episode in an anime, but there are no bikinis, you horny little devil. They show Yabuki fighting children because he's a god. Skipping back to Jose still jogging. While Yoko is told he has a non-title match coming up. He's a man who trains hard and refuses to let his age and his body bring him down, which is why he's going to stay the champion, as Joe visits Rikishi's grave, apologizing to Yoko for, throwing water on her face. And now we're in Chinatown having a party with delicious food, as Joe and Sugar have a private conversation. Apparently someone who once fought Jose Mendoza is in this city. He was even a national champion. He's a little stand under an underpass, Horaki Murakami. Lightweight champion, a lot of fights, a lot of wins, a lot of losses. Ironically, he has a dog called Jose. That's pretty funny. The story goes, it was an unofficial match against Jose, who was 16 years old at the time, who by all forms of logic should have been easy, except he dominated Toraki, battered him with those famous punches at only 16, showing alone that Jose is a monster. He retired a few fights after, but after Jose became the world champion, in a weird way it filled him with pride. He celebrated, he lost, he was destroyed, but the man who beat him was the world champion. Jose, the dog, and Joe are bonding in the middle of the park as a group of folks try and hit this dog. It's the Yakuza fighting Joe, Turaki locking in, saying he's the former champion before getting overpowered. All dogs may die, but young dogs are more insane, as Joe lands the quickest demolition you'll ever see, knocking all the Yakuza down with ease. This is the difference between a pro and a bunch of thugs who are not Kiryu. As Toruaki explained, he didn't think Jose becoming a champion invalidated his humiliation. He was prideful, as in a way that was a victory for himself. But shocking news occurs, Kim Young-bi is retiring due to physical damage, and likely psychological damage after seeing his dead fucking father. And likely a day later, Joe is supposed to have an interview, but he's not here, so Danpei strips. As Joe is hanging around with the posse, and oh my god, that's Wolf Kaneguchi. Instantly applauding Joe and thanking him for stopping Gondo trying to kill him, as apparently Wolf no longer works as muscle for the Yakuza, but as a trainer at a gym. President Shoyoya is a former mentor of Wolf, with a daughter too. Joe heading into the ring as he falls right through it as it's that rundown. Wolf is low-key glazing Joe before he gives the bad news. The president is in debt with incorrect English subtitles. Wolf has been trying to get the money, but Joe, being the good man he is, wants to help, even though it's 300,000 yen, and he doesn't provide all the details to Danpei. Danpei is thinking of building a new gym for new fighters as well. Joe giving Wolf the money because that's the kind of man he is. As Joe arrives with the posse, but then a biker gang appears, looking extremely unintimidating for a gang. They look like if you breathed on them, they'd perish.
A chicken?
The main one is Jiro, somehow not recognizing a boxing champion, psychopathically riding at Joe. Joe easily dealing with these punches, as the group realizes this is Joe Yabuki, and Joe rage baits the group into running away, with their tails in between their assholes. While Danpei shows the new land, this is where the new gym is going to be built. It also turns out Jiro is the son of President Shoyoya, and the brother of the daughter, obviously Jun. And a week later, despite Joe waiting for Wolf, he doesn't appear, worrying that Wolf might not even be able to give him the money. But then it turns out, Wolf doesn't even work at the gym. He lied, and you can kind of guess what that means. The president's daughter asks it. Wolf has stolen money from his friends over and over again, exploiting Joe's good nature, which is where we get the really sad information. Wolf and June were once engaged when Wolf was climbing the boxing ladder, but after his jaw got broken, he retired. He fell down as a person, as a man, as an individual. But one day she hopes Wolf can just come back, and Joe doesn't let her pay because Joe, despite that betrayal, believes in Wolf the same way his ex-fiancé did. Back on track though, Jiro is back wanting a fight, and it doesn't go well as Joe is literally giving him tips. And despite Jiro's bravado, Joe single-handedly convinces him to actually get life. That's my goat. And Joe's first title defense is in Hawaii, where Jose Mendoza is also fighting.
Aroha!
Everyone's saying goodbye. Danpei's hammered on the plane, so good for him. Hawaii, a Yakuza reference. As Danpei breaks his neck as he's still pissed out his mind. As the reporters arrive to question Joe, and they bring up Carlos being crippled, and naturally Joe has no interest in bragging about that. While Joe plans to check out Jose in the gym, not to fight him, but just to get a good look at him. As they arrive, and as you can see, there is no Jose Mendoza. Joe asking these guys who don't speak Japanese, and Joe doesn't speak American, but this big guy does somehow. Jose murdered his sparring partner within 1 minute, and that guy brings up Carlos.
He should die.
Picking up Joe as we see a poster. It angers me, you, and everyone. It says Jose destroyed Carlos Rivera, not Jose Mendoza beat an already crippled, disabled man who could barely function. Bang, knocking the man down with a body blow, before leaving a message that he's disappointed in the champion, striking at Jose's imagery, leaving a mark. Joe believes the poster is a direct mockery of Carlos, as Joe takes a literal leap of faith onto Danpei's balcony. Ashita no Joe nearly ended, and Joe's in the gym being informed about his appalling behavior, training without a care in the world, before having a spar against Chico Steinboard, who does not like Joe as he's a Jose glazer. Ball beginning as Joe flips him over, easily guarding his offense, dodging and blowing the man's entire head off with a 3-piece combo. And oh my god, there he is. An intense stare down asking for an interpreter, apologizing for the fact they couldn't meet earlier, and it turns out Carlos was spotted in Venezuela, as Joe brags about his ability to spar, trying to use his rage bait, and well, Jose says this.
You are just a rude little animal.
Huh?
Naturally, Joe isn't too happy about that as he tries to confront Jose, and bang, a punch to the right side of the temple, having Joe's eyes roll back on his skull. The news refers to it as Jose teaching a lesson, but considering he just called Joe a racial slur, I don't think that's really a lesson. And this is Joe's opponent, a gigantic man called Pinan Sarawaku. I mean, this man is a tower who dominates his sparring partner, while Joe is still thinking about that punch, locking in on his training, running on the beach before he lets the dogs out, and Jose Mendoza is on the beach with his family. Thankfully, Yoko appears before Joe does something stupid, as Yoko is making a secret deal with Jose. And listen to this voice.
Joe Yabuki.
I fucking hate Americans.
Both men getting introduced while Jose is introduced, entering the ring looking flashy, slowly approaching Joe, who doesn't shake his hand, rather than giving him 2 fingers, declaring he will win this fight within 2 rounds, telling the man he can't lose until Joe has permission to fight him, before Jose literally forces Joe into a handshake of aura farming, attempting a punch, and oh my god, can we stop with the racism? Besides that, our fight begins, both men circling around each other, Joe attempting his offense. The height difference a massive issue as he can't land a blow to his face, getting Lil Broed out there while Pinan throws a quick right left, having Joe against the ropes, getting easily overpowered, spearing the man, eating an uppercut, headbutting the stomach, unable to find his proper rhythm due to the size difference, even getting a cut, meaning Joe is bleeding. Round 2 beginning with even more humbling from Pinan as he lands a monster right left right. Restarting, landing a body blow, spearing the man into a corner, slamming punches into that tight ass guard, before a left has Joe on his ass, and it's the same scenario with Pinan, running around and easily beating Joe, bell ringing. Jose trying not to laugh, as it's not a 2nd round win, it's going to be a 3rd round win. Beginning as Joe is locked in this time, as he has to prove it, breaking through Pinan's guard, landing again. That man does not have life in his eyes. Pinan is gone and Joe has won, so his predicament was partially correct, while Joe tells Jose he's next. It's our after party following Joe's victory, as Joe and Yoko are in a fancy car having a bonding session, Joe still wanting to know what this deal is, and Joe's driving. He also doesn't have a license, look at that face. Before they somehow don't flip over and kill something, and Jose is shooting a gun because we're in America, what do you expect? While Joe thinks of his opponents, Rikishi's drive, Carlo's elegance, Kim's ice, Jose isn't like those three somehow. I mean, he's a family man who rides horses. Jose is an incredible world champion, boasting an incredible record and KO record. The point of this showcase is Jose doesn't care what could happen, as both men slowly approach each other on a horse before Joe goes off into a sprint, which inspires Jose to do the same. As he hands Joe his hat, Joe getting to ask about the poster that started it all, the disrespect towards Carlos. As it would turn out, Jose didn't have the poster made, and he was actually very disgusted by his creation in general.
He was used to be my powerful rival.
I'm gonna kill myself.
While Jose is going to the doctor as he sees boxers suffer in the ring and he doesn't want his family to go through that. Dr. Kininsky is the name. He's even created a book about punch drunk syndrome. As the business deal is explained, Jose will fight one fight in Japan, an exclusive deal, and Joe is the #1 man. Look at that smile. While Jose is training looking like a god because he's the world champion, declaring to the fans to what? Doesn't matter, check this die pussy. Joe swimming like a pro while Sugar shows Joe the newspaper. It's a V sign, a message to Joe, probably meaning victory in the 2nd round. The posse and friends sending messages back to Joe as he sees a statue. As Joe buys an insane amount of merchandise for everyone at home. It's time for Jose's fight against Sam Ikea, the world champion, giving me a literal stroke with the amount of zoom in. This opponent isn't trash, he has a 90% KO rate, and apparently Jose can't take punches. Don't be fooled, as it's time for a real Jose fight. Jose easily avoiding the offense with smooth dodging, weaving, looking like he's Goku as he places his arms on Sam's shoulders, casually eating massive punches towards the body and face, literally unmoving as he pushes Sam. 1-2, good night. Rain hitting, leaving Joe and Jose to look at each other. The rain makes everything look cinematic, doesn't it? The amount of profile pictures you can get from this scene is crazy.
I'll see you again.
See you again.
See you again.
See you again. See you again.
Well, we get a montage of Jose and Joe's fun, covered by Midnight Blues. I can't show that, I'd probably be castrated. Nothing else matters as Joe sleeps, as everyone welcomes them back as they get their Hawaiian presents in a very sweet scene. And Joe is doing a charity autograph signing, and apparently our boy has fangirls, as Joe makes the great escape uncaring about his duties. Well, they arrive to back where Joe hid from the police for the first time, before Dampe shatters his entire face. But there's someone here, a kid with a knife. Joe isn't intimidated, but it turns out the Yakuza is looking for this guy, more specifically Gondo. And despite this kid being a brat, Joe can't let this kid get taken, as Joe folds this guy in half, Yakuza time. Gondo's street techniques versus Joe's boxing, before both men end up in a wall. It turns out this kid is the son of someone who protected Gondo, and they're trying to capture him, not murder him. While the new Tanji gym is being built, welcoming new people into the gym. As the official presentation begins, how me and Joe changed both their lives. It's emotional, but both men find themselves sleeping back in the old gym. It's the memories of what created that place, drinking into the night, and well, it's a new dawn, and we're told the news that WBA champion Harold Gomez will be fighting the WBC champion Jose Mendoza for the world title unification bout. Naturally, Joe doesn't care about anyone else, but he has a new opponent Agent Leon Smiley, #1 ranked boxer and honestly a fucking cool ass character.
The ace of spades.
Joe has no interest as he only wants Jose as we watch the tape. He's tall with 25 wins and 24 KOs. He's a monster in near all aspects. Leon's trainer already has plans for him to become the 13th world champion under him, which is the unlucky number. Leon doing his card tricks. If Joe can win, he'll be the #1 ranked in the world. As Leon goofs off even more, but he still kills his opponents, and then we get the meme of Joe on the phone, a legendary.
Hi there.
As he's informed about this unification bout. Back with Leon on the TV cooking some guy as he let us watch it. Leon breaking out of a clinch and literally pulverizing this guy's entire face. But then my eyes are attacked brutally. As I see Leon's bare ass, this is integral to the plot.
Joe Yabuki, you gonna lose.
Whoever wins will fight their undisputed champion. While Leon is doing his card routine, flipping over the Joker card, making him sweat instantly, as the Joker is misfortune. As the stage is set, while Jose's opponent is in the ring, and Joe and Leon are arguing about who's gonna win between Jose and Gomez. But it begins, Leon looking massive with his guard down, as if he's Joe. Joe landing just to get impaled with a body blow, smashed backwards onto the ropes, pure pummeling, forcing Joe back, eating multiple rights as Leon easily lands and weaves, using his Japanese. Taunting Joe as he weaves out the attempted offense and a headbutt. Rather sly, but Joe isn't bothered, getting a montage of both men swinging and landing, a pure war from the second the bell rang. This is only the first round, while Joe knows Jose is waiting for him, eating an uppercut, sending him down. But obviously he gets up, charging forward, missing and using his feet to land right. Ref, swinging, missing until the bell rings. That was the first round, while Leon doesn't understand what Joe is. Second round continuing with Leon dominating before a right smashes him, as Joe catches him with a 1-2 as they both fall out the ring. Quickly getting back in as Joe lands a body blow with a quick left, Leon slipping the remaining punches, breaking that face with a right and left, bouncing Joe off the ropes as both men land a brutal exchange as the bell rings. Both men are nearly in a coma and it's only the second round. Round 3 starting as Leon spams his left jabs, easily dealing with Joe's face, pulverizing him against the ropes. Without mercy, having Joe in all directions as he clinches before Leon trips him up, while Joe realizes he shouldn't have underestimated Leon, which is not his finest moment. Joe missing his swings as Leon lands a quick left-right, sending Joe onto the mat. Obviously Joe gets back up, Leon slips punches and piecing Joe up over continuous rounds. I mean, it's looking like the biggest ass whooping ever as we're in the 7th round. Joe getting the strategy that he was taught by Dampé in prison. But despite that, Joe is getting battered and launched all over the place for another down, managing to stay alive, charging with a massive right, decapitating Leon onto the mat. But Leon's not one to stay down, especially not for his own destiny. Joe charging forward, slamming punches against Leon's tight ass guard with the round ending. This fight is a battle of determination, no undertale, and it comes down to who wants it more. Round 8 beginning with Leon landing his body blow, 2 left jabs, slipping and landing before Joe's punch launches him against the ropes, and then Leon lands a counter, having Joe discombobulated. Because both men are fighting to kill, let's be honest, an exchange before boom, cross counter, and Leon's the one who buckles, but my glorious king rises to his feet as Joe batters him with the bell ringing. In round 9, Leon is getting dominated as normal, with the finale is the 10th round. And by decision, it's determined to be Joe. I don't think so, but sure. Joe running away to celebrate. Unfortunately, Leon and his coach are outside.
It's your victory, man.
Leon is actually a quite different opponent compared to everyone else, as he wants to be Joe's rival for the world title if Joe becomes the champion. Doing his little card trick as Joe wins the Jack, which means he has the potential to become the king. But Leon has the Joker card, going out for some fresh air and
I'm the king, I'm gonna be the champ!
It's later now. Joe is reading the news about Jose vs Gomez, and Joe has an invitation to watch. Gomez is 23 years old with 32 wins, 0 losses and 28 KOs, so he's not trash, and we're in Las Vegas. And after all the good looks, both men make their entrances, bell ringing, both men circling each other as Gomez lands a right, Gomez charging with his offense, but Jose is dealing with it easily. After all, he's the god of bantam, while Joe throws paper for some reason, as Gomez lands a massive left, beating Jose backwards, missing and hitting that tight ass guard, and I have a stroke. Jose fighting back, but Gomez is landing as both men miss in exchange. Jose still weaving with his dodges as another left lands, before Jose lands a massive body blow, but Gomez fires back with a 3-piece, having Jose in fear. Second round beginning, Gomez still on the offense, landing as Jose lands a left, but despite it, Jose is beaten against the ropes, escaping but still landing punches to the face, but bang! A right corkscrew has Gomez resetting briefly, going back, landing his left right, still hitting Jose against the ropes. The round ending again with our 4th round. Jose still weaving a meaty body blow and a massive right to the jaw. Both corkscrews as Gomez saves himself, pressing Jose against the ropes, beating him with left and right. It looks like the WBA champion is being dominated. A left having him running as Joe screams at the man to lock the fuck in, but look at Gomez's face. He looks absolutely fucked up because he's been brunting the force like Carlos would do. Out of respect, it's the 6th round and now Jose's ready to finish it. Right, left, good night, sweet prince. Game, set, match. Jose Mendoza is officially the undisputed champion. There is no need to worry, and Joe's gambling because he's in Vegas, and then Jose is talking about being depressed because, as we find out a little bit later, Harold Gomez died in hospital last night due to his injuries as a plane flies through the glass. Well, the TV company finds out that Yoko stole the match from under their noses. Yoko is in South Asia for some reason, despite both men's fight being in 2 weeks. But for some reason, Yoko thinks that Joe doesn't have that wild side in him anymore, as Yoko officially explains the terms to what's going on, providing conditions to hand over the contract to Kanto TV. Joe must defend his belt one time against an opponent of Yoko's choosing, which is a little bit deranged. Where everyone's hands are tied, Joe doesn't have the drive to beat Jose, as Jose's only weakness is Joe's drive, while Yoko and her goons are off to find a psychopathic boxer. Now, who is that opponent? Harry Mao from Malaysia. This guy is a monster who tries to eat people, looks insane, and loves chocolate. Originating from a tribe with a British reporter teaching him the moves, who's currently in hospital for the fact he broke his jaw. And the kids are playing Beyblade. Even Sugar doesn't understand what the point of this fight is, while Joe gets knocked down by Nishi, looking like his eyes are rolling around in his skull, making them both blush as Nariko runs away. But she's not actually sad. She's also noticed Joe has changed, and he's here looking like a horror character. Harry Mao coming to pay his respects, but rather than paying his respects, he flies into the air, tries to break Joe's arm and cracks him with a right, and then jumps on his lifeless corpse. As Harry Mao devours chocolate to calm himself, while Yoko calls Joe a little puss as he pushes it and runs off. Sugar and Yoko both talking about how Joe has changed, as the normal Joe wouldn't have let him do that. As Joe watches Harry Mao spar, who headbutts his opponent and impales him, making him have a stroke, while Joe provides chocolate, getting gloves for that classic revenge. Harry Mao charges in instantly, eating a left and then a combo from Joe, knocking him into the corner, running away like a little baby. As he tries to leave, Harry Mao denying physics with a spin kick, having Joe crucified on the ropes. This man's gonna kill him. Joe's out, he's in a bar with Gondo, requesting a favor of some kind. Now it turns out this first favor is killing Dampei, but more seriously, it's inviting the actual Yakuza to showcase his aura, while Gondo tells his goons to not actually be moronic. As all the men disarm, fighting men who street fight is logical since Harry Mao isn't exactly a normal boxer. As it begins, Joe eating a street combo, dismantling him onto the ground, and then Joe locks in, blocking and slipping all the offense. Boom, bam, bang, bosh, dealing with those 4 men easily, as Joe takes on the entire Yakuza by himself, dismantling them all, while Harry Mao is sparring.
You what?
Gondo firing a mix of punches and kicks, flipping Joe over, missing a knee as Joe combos him with left-right. But despite that, Gondo manages to overpower him, as Joe tells Gondo he's stronger now, but Gondo tells Joe maybe he's just weaker. It seems a lot of people have this idea about Joe, and it's fight day. Apparently Harry Mao has a strategy against Joe, probably as deranged as he is, while outside a recognizable figure hums a tune. But it's fight time. Harry Mao lunging forward, firing his punches like a beast, as Joe slips out the way, smashing a body blow before tripping him up. The master plan is rage bait as Joe eats 2 big lefts, but at the same time, that figure is here. And Harry Mao punches the ref as the round ends. The Yakuza are here to cheer on Joe too. From beginning, Joe instantly demolishing Harry Mao with his blows, Harry Mao swinging too wide, right to the body, and listen to that. But once again, those familiar eyes are outside. He fought the champion.
How are you?
The same memories of Carlos. But we're back in the ring, Joe beating Harry Mao into the corner, a big right left, having Harry Mao running away, as he literally backflips 4 times in a row, still getting murdered against the ropes. But Joe backs off, sensing Harry Mao had someone ready. Round 3 starting as Harry Mao can't land, but oh my god, oh my god, oh my fucking god, as Joe is knocked down. Okay, let's see, I saw a rabbit punch, which is illegal, and then Harry Mao became a human Beyblade, landing an uppercut. Naturally, Joe gets up, running as he hits Harry Mao, who's bouncing all over the place. This is literally Wally on literal cocaine. Right left pissing Joe off as he eradicates him in the corner with a combo, beating the running man who denies physics with a flip and cracks Joe onto the mat again. Joe getting up, saved by the bell as he has a plan for the 4th round. Joe still getting taken apart by Harry Mao's insane offense before... That's actually against the laws of physics. Harry Mao lands uppercut, but Joe flies and...
I mean, if that happened to me, I'd kill myself.
Squashes Harry Mao onto the mat. He's probably dead as the Yakuza applaud him. But you want to know who's found himself in the ring? Despite being more disheveled, that's Carlos Rivera. Joe getting his trophy as he falls over, losing his sight in his eyes briefly. And we're here for the saddest scene in the anime so far. This man is Carlos. He's worse for wear, but you can tell it's him. Talking about both men's strengths as they have a spar. And Carlos's lightning fast punches that were made in heaven are now slow. Gon is the man who saw snow and acted like a kid again. But despite that, he still has the boxing knowledge. Roll the video one last time. as Yoko offers to look after him. And I'm gonna kill myself. Carlos has punch-drunk syndrome, otherwise known as CTE, and the next day Joe refusing to visit the hospital despite him slipping over again. Yoko fears Joe might have punch-drunk syndrome, and this is the most depressing thing ever. The explanation of punch-drunk syndrome fitting Joe entirely, while the crippled Carlos tries to catch a butterfly. His condition is permanent, but providing him with the best situation can help. While Joe is out with his gym members, and Nishi and Noriko are getting married, but there's an emergency. Joe has collapsed, doing his laces before falling unconscious. As it turns out, punch-drunk syndrome can be less effective in boxers like Joe due to psychological behavior. There's also a psychological advantage against Jose due to Carlos being crippled. After all, Jose never got to fight Prime Carlos, as Danpei thinks about Joe also having punch-drunk syndrome, providing a test. So he's fine. As Joe visits the hospital, and more importantly Carlos, reminiscing on how they both used to fight, Joe promising he'll fight Jose with everything he's got, and, you know.
Hey, mush. Oh,
It's finally time. Danpei receiving the news. The world title fight is officially confirmed for August 17th. Jose Mendoza vs Joe Yabuki. All the while, Yoko's being a bit depressing thinking about Joe having punch-drunk syndrome, detailing things that Joe has had. But when Joe fights, it's clear he's able to function in a remarkable way for someone who would have CTE. But the worry is still there as he does have the symptoms, as Yoko asks for a favor from the doctor. While Joe is locked in for the biggest fight of his life, Nishi will be there as a second, even delaying his own honeymoon so he can be there, as Joe rage baits Danpei into falling on his ass, and the posse is dressed in their kimonos. But it doesn't matter, because this fight will be fireworks as we see the man himself, Jose Mendoza, arriving for this fight, looking as fresh as ever because he's a god within the boxing ring. And it's time for the press conference. After this, there really is no going back. This fight is official. Jose talking up Joe as an incredible opponent, while Joe details what he thinks. August 17th is going to be the fight of his life, no matter what, as they exchange a sign of respect with a little nice training montage of all types. And Dr. Kaninsky has arrived in Japan, where it's time for the wedding. All the members of the slums, essentially one large family here to see her, and it is beautiful. Just look at them. Nishi giving Noriko the ring, and they're finally married. Look at Joe. As Joe gives a speech singing and thinking about the pair's growth from juvenile detention. All the while Jose is training on the beach because he's just like that. I mean, this man's aura forming on a cliff with a corkscrew punch, getting his regular scheduled checkup, fully healthy in mind and body. But it also turns out the doctor is here to check up on Joe, Yoko telling him something about their relationship, and the doctor is 99% saying that Joe has punch-drunk syndrome, extremely advanced form of it as well. Which explains why Joe's eyes sometimes vanish for a minute. Yoko calls Joe driving the car, taking Joe on some sort of meal as the doctor mysteriously arrives. Naturally, Joe catches on this as a planned meetup, and he has no intention of getting a checkup from the doctor. Jose's still training like a beast, running past Sugar, funnily enough, who has an interview with Jose. Two key questions about Carlos: how they didn't fight and how Carlos being crippled was the fact he won. He merely responds to those are rumors and not something he cares about. What a gentleman.
Fuck you and your fucking $30 haircut.
While the doctor is observing Joe's tapes, and then we see a little bit of Carlos's x-ray. He has, or had, a fractured skull. As Yoko needs to call Danpei, but Joe's a bit of an asshole getting the phone put down. Despite that, late at night, Joe is restless going out on a run. While Yoko realizes that Joe losing his wildness is because he has, severe brain damage, and the fact that she had a psychopath who does backflips and punch people in the back of the head was actually not a smart move.
No shit.
As Joe has a dog. Wow, that's pretty cute. But even as Yoko continues to ring, Joe ensures the phone gets put down. He does not care about anything she has to say. And a few days later, it's the same thing, even leaving the woman standing out in the rain. But after doing all the hard work, she finally managed to get it through. It's the x-ray, as I stated. It's an image of Carlos's fractured skull, which could have only occurred due to a corkscrew punch, meaning that Joe didn't cripple him, even though Carlos was punch-drunk before, so all that did was make it, worse. But more days later, Yoko stands at Rikishi's grave, asking the man for some divine intervention to save Joe from this cruel fate. Something that not even Joe can face. Jose having a spar against a lightweight Moriyama, easily avoiding the offense, body blow, punch, rest in peace. Jose ended it that fast because no one from Joe's team is there. And apparently Joe Yabuki is in the hills, Yoko hitting some sick drifts to get there, using the makeshift gym to blaze away from all the noise. Why exactly would they do that? It's so Joe can avoid hearing the phone over and over again. And late at night, it's time for a spar versus a disabled old man. Danpei naturally getting overpowered as Joe is too powerful for a retired boxer, while Joe counts him out. It's a KO. It took 37 seconds as he charges forward, Joe avoiding before a big right knocks him down. That's a bit creepy, isn't it? Now it's outright nighttime and both men are firing cannons. Dampé just punched him in the ass. But it's time for reminiscing. The kid who pushed Dampé away is about to fight the world champion. Where would both men be if they didn't find each other? Wherever it would be, it would not be nice. And Yoko has arrived, but they're not here. They're running up a hill. As despite all the joy, Dampé has that fear in his mind. Is Joe gonna die in the ring? Is there something else wrong with him? It cannot be explained. While Joe is alone thinking about everything once more, the insanely handsome Rikishi in that season 2 animation. What a legend. If he didn't box, they would never have met either. And somehow Joe has found himself in a random group of guys who are training. As they cheer, listen. Joe carrying a drunk Dampé back to the cabin. What an actual bond, man. We're finally back, and once more, it's memories time. Joe's youngest memories, how he'd always run away from an orphanage, with his hat growing with him apparently, travelling through storms and all. And once more, Joe won't answer the phone. Well, there's a man. It's Wolf, returning the money he did after, he did a runner, as Joe tells him he struggles to sleep before fighting him too. And say what you want about Wolf, the guy is pretty cool. All the time in the world, well, there is not enough time as well, because it is August 17th, the fight of the century. And you wouldn't guess who's here. It's all the older guys from Juvie. It's the guy who Joe squashed. It's the Rikishi Dick Rider, Aoyama. Rikishi in Season 2 looks so built different, man, it's unreal. Thinking about when the pair tried to break each other's face, with Joe using rocks like a little demon, as Joe is ironically the youngest one despite it all. And it also turns out Sugar is going to be watching this match as a fan, not just a journalist, as he was preparing to write a story about Joe losing. Yoko finally manages to tell Joe that he can't fight because he has punch drunk syndrome. But Joe knows. Joe always knew he had it. It was his own body. He obviously knew he had brain damage, but he doesn't care because he wants this fight no matter what. Even as she confesses her love to Joe, she can't let him get in that ring. But Jose is waiting. The world champion, the strongest man in the world, is waiting for Joe in the ring. And there's only one thing he can do. Fight like he has all his life. The light shining brighter than ever before. Wolf, Carlos, Gondo, the prison guys. Everyone's here for this fight. The King of Kings against the Wild Kid. Will there be a miracle, or will the King win again? Bell ringing and Joe wasting no time missing his right. Jose guarding his offense towards the body using that matrix weaving. Joe looking clumsy out there before Jose lands a 3-piece combo sending Joe back. Joe keeps lunging forward, struggling to land any punch as Jose is untouchable. I mean, Joe was trying to use all his stamina in the first round like it's a video game. Spam your specials off the back, I get you, bro. With our second round beginning, Joe's still missing against those dodges because Jose has just got Ultra Instinct out there for a massive uppercut right and then a body blow. But somehow Joe stays up and missing his uppercut with a massive corkscrew landing. Joe somehow staying up before bang. Still up, still missing. Is it Jose's strength or Joe's CTE weakness that is screwing him in this fight? Well, the second round has ended already and Joe looks quite dumb. In the third round, it is the exact same tempo. Jose's dodges are occurring at the last millisecond, landing another corkscrew, and this time Joe is down. With his eyes rolling around in his skull. But somehow Joe is up, even when everyone thought he'd stay dead. Wobbling over towards Jose, who casually weaves and just toys with Joe, smashing him onto the ropes again. I mean, it's looking worse and worse for our boy at this rate, isn't it? Joe charging and eating a right, having his blood go over Dampé. What the hell was that, man? Joe still missing until finally landing 2 punches, even though Jose is holding him, as Joe swings like a dog. As if his arms aren't working, it's the same strategy Jose used in Hawaii. Jose eating those punches for breakfast, lunch, and even dinner, cracking Joe with a right left, Joe getting saved by that bell. And Joe is basically dead on his stool, imagining himself younger, wandering as a drifter, like he always has been from the start. And as another round begins, Carlos appears out of nowhere. Jose seeing his former rival allows Joe to land a punch. Bang, another right before beating this man into the ropes. Jose unable to understand where the hell Carlos came from, smashing Joe onto the mat for the finale. But Joe gets up with that right eye blurry, and he lands, and Joe lands again and again, left-right against Jose in the corner, unveiling his power, beating that bum into the corner. The only explainable thing is that Carlos is here. But is it that? Or is Joe Yabuki alive? Is the greatest protagonist in sports? Oh my god, this fight is so fucking good! Sorry, I went a bit crazy. Our new round beginning as Joe lands a big punch, a left right to the body, left right, good fucking night. That big left having the unstoppable world champion down for the first time in his career.
That happened to me, I'd kill myself.
getting up as Joe slams a punch to that jaw, taking control as Joe is now pulling off the corkscrew. In the most integral fight of his life, he is pulling off the most deadly move in boxing. Even the cool collected champion is stressed because those corkscrews are doing meaty ass damage. But despite that fact, Joe didn't realize he was actually using corkscrews. It's now the 6th round after the previous one ended, and Joe is doing it. Joe is beating the world champion easily. Even the cool dodging and tight ass guard is no match for Joe's relentless attacks. But then an uppercut body blow. Joe staying alive because Joe is built like that. Launched back against the ropes with a massive one having him down. Joe aura farming by counting with the ref at the same time.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Joe leaping forward, dodging a punch barely, before using Jose's own strat against him, letting the undisputed champion hit him with everything he's got. Big body blow with left and right pouring down on Joe. Joe is uncaring, Joe is unmoving, Joe's unwavering relief is astounding, if you will. Joe pushing him back, firing pure cannons against the ropes. As both men keep throwing, Joe once again managing to knock down the world champion, and it is unexplainable with the round ending. As Joe explains what happens, the arm strategy is basically a trick. It lessens the damage from the punches because the punches are slower. Jose can't really take punches as well as most people, so when he's doing that, he was making his opponents think he's a tank, when in reality,
he's a pussy.
Joe drifting off on the stool, imagining the man himself, anime's first alpha male and the biggest legend, Toru Rikishi, who in this dream is the world champion, and they're gonna fight, which is their destiny. Joe also seeing Carlos before waking up. And for our 7th round, Joe's right eye is basically blind, eating a combo from Jose who's beginning to overpower him, destroying our boy against the ropes, before Joe lunges back with that quick 1-2 counterattack. Head body head, what a menace, punching at every single point of Jose's body. As they exchange once again, Joe imagining he's fighting Rikishi, battering Jose against the ropes, knocking him down for the 3rd time. Carlos is now in his corner, but Jose has realized what's going on. Joe can't actually see out of his right eye, and because of it, that's why his punches were landing, because they were actually curving into him. While Jose is on his stool, basically telling his coach, please call this fight. But because Joe is actually winning in this context, the fight can't end. Jose acknowledging Joe's strength, but it's time. Severe CTE allowing Jose to dodge before breaking him with a corkscrew, and then another before comboing Joe onto the ground. Somehow rising again, but he is hitting all air as Jose prepares for the finale. The punches are bloody, they're brutal. A massive punch making me grimace behind the screen, but then a massive left to the face and a bigger right to the jaw. Punches to the air too, while Wolf in the crowd realizes that Joe's eyes are fucked. Noriko thinking back on all the times they had, Joe's future if he became the world champion, or will he just disappear like the lonesome wanderer he is? Back with the fight, Joe eating a big right, having him down on the mat, managing to rise, eating one directly to the face, but he somehow survives because if he went down, it would have been all over. And on the stool, Joe tells Dampe he can't stop. He needs to burn up like white ash. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't matter now because all bets are off. Joe eating more rights and lefts to the temple and an uppercut. It's getting even more brutal as another one lands to Joe. Joe's eye is gone, slipping down onto the mat, and yet he still gets up. Still missing, beaten and impaled into the body. Massive uppercut jumping to save himself as Jose overpowers him against the ropes. Going down at some point because now we're with Yoko, unable to watch the man she loves fight in such a horrible state. But despite her fears, Joe is still fighting, refusing to let Jose beat him as the car turns around, as she has to be there for the end, no matter what that is. Arriving with Joe eating more punches against the ropes, firing back against Jose, with both men just exchanging against each other. Jose is damaged, but another exchange. Jose landing his combo before Joe responds with a left to the face and jaw. Round ending, and Jose is stressed at Joe's unwavering belief to fight even if he could die. Joe throwing his towel away, and Yoko ensuring it cannot be thrown in, telling Joe to fight to the bitter end, no matter what. Now it's the 13th round, Joe eating even more CTE punches, slowly walking Jose down as he lands over and over again, firing those bombs, the training he got from Dampe himself. As he slowly turns to face Jose, we see the most empty expression ever, and I'm just gonna let it play out.
That motherfucker's cheating! He's cheating!
No move was too dirty in that, with Jose getting 1 point deducted. The champion cheating, and it's not an understatement, Jose is terrified. Jose is shit scared right now. All the while we see in Joe's eye, Rikishi. Round 14 and Jose is unable to understand who he's fighting against. Joe should be dead, but if that's the case, then who is he fighting? This is the phantom of Joe Yabuki and his fighting spirit, landing a big right, a demolishing left to the temple. Jose barely guarding the rest as the bell rings, and this is going to be our final round no matter what. 3 minutes of history, 3 minutes for the greatest conclusion in an anime ever. Jose charging in, leading his offense as Joe is knocked down nearly instantly, but Joe gets up. Jose in panic mode as a cross counter rings, collapsing the champion, who gets up as both men are on the verge of death as they keep fighting with another cross counter landing, knocking Jose down again. And at this point they're just throwing hands until the bell rings. The end of this fight. As Joe sits in his corner and hands his bloody gloves to Yoko with a smile, closing his eyes as Jose's declared the winner in the end to an insane fight. And I mean, he took his soul. He made him a ghoul. As Danpei tells Joe, he did him proud. But Joe? Well, Joe.
燃えたよ。燃え尽きた。真っ白にな。
あいつの素振りは忘れられ